Hi, everyone. Welcome. Glad you're all here to join us today. My name is Kraycirik. I'm a volunteer with the Episcopal Parish Network. I am one of this year's co-chairs along with my good friend Adam. And so we're going to pause momentarily just to allow as many folks as possible to join us for the webinar today. For the first time attendees, we're so glad you're all here and that you've made the decision to join us in Kansas City. I'm going to go ahead and just share a little bit more about the Episcopal Parish Network and especially the annual conference that is coming up in just 11 days. It is one of the largest gatherings in the Episcopal Church. It is focused on parish life and parish work, connecting parishes to each other. And one of the things we really aim for in the theme of the conference is always to prevent an uplifting and encouraging experience so that as folks return from the annual conference to their home parishes, they take that energy and that excitement and they put it back into ministry in parish life. It is focused on both lay and clergy, both lay professionals as well as lay volunteers. I would say in the registration demographic, it's usually about 60% clergy that attend, and then a 40% makeup of lay professionals and lay volunteers, vestry wardens, all kinds of folks. And so I love the fact that it really focuses on the two sides, or actually, 3 or 4 sides of what makes up parish communities. So, and also, you may be attending for the first time this year, which is great. Some of us have attended for a long time. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we introduce ourselves here in a minute. But also know that sometimes folks only come every other year, maybe every 2 to 3 years, depending on regionally where it is. It moves around the country, East Coast, Mountain Time, South, Southwest, Southeast. We try to sort of hit different pockets of the United States over a variety of years just to try to make the accessibility to folks more reasonable depending on where you are and where you live. And really one of the things that we're most proud of it with the Episcopal Parish Network is the networking, the cohorts, the relationships that are created. Throughout the year, EPN does host webinars just like this one on a variety of topics, connecting people from across the country and sometimes even around the world to talk about topics that are at the forefront of the mind of parish life. What can we work through? How can we connect? How can we share ideas? And the annual conference really puts that network into play, gives you that face time. I have made more friends in 4 days at the annual conference than I probably have in 4 years outside of the conference. So just really looking forward to sharing with you guys what to expect, how to get the most out of your conference experience, and really answer some of your questions that you may have as you're thinking about us gathering in just a matter of days. So Peggy, I'm going to invite you to open us in prayer and then we'll get started.
All right, let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who will come and gather in Kansas City for the Episcopal Parish Network Conference, as we do so for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate that. So just before we get started, we are going to go around and introduce ourselves just to give you guys some context for who we are. Just to let you know, this webinar is being recorded and will be available after. So if there's anyone in your community who's also attending for the first time, but maybe couldn't attend this webinar right now, it'll be available to them. Or if you just want a refresher on anything we say, look to the EPN website and you'll find it there. Once again, I'm Kraycirik. I'm based here in Houston. I'm a member at Christ Church Cathedral here. We actually hosted the conference last year in 2024. So we're super glad to have everyone join us back then. This year we'll be in Kansas City. I have been on the EPN planning committee. The planning committee helps to actually plan the conference itself since the fall of 2019. And planning for Kansas City will be my 3rd conference to co-chair. And my very first conference that I attended for EPN was back in 2016 in Denver. So almost or 9 years of conferences. Hard to believe. Uh, so Peggy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Peggy Lowe. I'm the rector at St. Albans Episcopal Church in Austin, Texas. I learned about joining EPM as an intern to the board in 2018 when we were undergoing a strategic planning process, strategic narrative planning process. And I've been on the board, I think this is my 5th year, and I'm currently the president of the board. And excited to see you all. My first conference was 2019 in Boston. So anyway, I'm excited to see you all in Kansas City, and also always happy to see folks on the I've been working with folks on the solo priest, solo clergy kind of track in terms of workshops, and so that's been a gift to learn from all our panelists and there as well. Bowie.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Bowie Snodgrass. I'm the rector of Kraycirik in Short Hills, New Jersey. And this is my 3rd year on the planning team. And next year I'll step up and I'll be the co-chair of the planning team. And my first conference was in 2017 in Washington, D.C. Adam?
Excellent. Hey, I'm Adam MacDonald. I am the Director of Development at St. Thomas Church, Fifth Avenue in New York City, where also my home parish is the Church of the Heavenly Rest. And since 2021, when we moved out to Connecticut, my home parish is Christ Church, Stratford. Hi, Gail. Hi, Doreen. And so excited to see you all in Kansas City. Um, I have been on the planning committee. My first conference was 2019 in Boston, and my first year on the planning committee was 2021. I am so grateful to be co-chair along with Karen this year and next year with Bowie. And I welcome your feedback, especially if it's good. If you have good feedback, please tell me. And if it's not good, please tell Karen. With that, I do want to clarify some of the behind the scenes things that go into this conference. And we start actually with our executive director, Joe Swimmer. If you don't know Joe, you will. And if you do know Joe, you know that he is an incredible ambassador for the Episcopal Church and for this organization. Joe is there to help. He helps us every day, and he is there to help you and your parish. So please, make sure you introduce yourself to Joe when we get to Kansas City. And Joe works with our board of directors, and Peggy mentioned that she is the chair of the board. The board meets on a regular basis and charts both a strategic vision and some of the nitty-gritty. There's several planning committee members that are on the board. Beautiful humans, beautiful, wonderful members of our church, and they really know the ins and outs of this incredible conference. As you can tell, I'm real excited about it, and I hope that you are too. It is just, 5 of the best days. My great friend and mentor likes to quote the author Annie Dillard, who says, "How you spend your days is, of course, how you spend your life." And I promise you, this is going to be a great week in your life. And finally, we have the planning committee. It's an excellent group of almost 24 folks from around the church and across the country, people in all kinds of different roles, and we gather in the spring in the host city, and we kind of work towards a thematic element. And we really tried this year to index the programming against what we have as our theme, which I do hope that that translates, and really concentrate on sending folks home with tactile things that they can bring to their communities. We love strategic conversations. We love 30,000 foot, and we want to make sure that you go home knowing that the resources that you spent of your time, your talent, your treasure were well spent in Kansas City, and also that you bring the joy and the excitement and the vision that we offer in Kansas City back to your communities. And so with that, I just want to say we are designated, everybody gets a lanyard. It's a lanyard kind of situation at the conference, and planning committee members have a little extra marker that lets you know that we're planning committee, and so does the board. And I encourage you to introduce yourselves and ask questions, and give that feedback, directionally. But I definitely encourage you to introduce yourselves to us, and anything that we can do to help. We try and be the best host we can, and we're there. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out who does.
Thanks, Adam. And just one more comment on that. There is a logistics company that we use called River West. So they will be identifiable. They're going to wear black vests that have their River West logo on them. So if someone says, "Oh, go talk to River West," that's not a person, that's a company. You may also from time to time receive emails from them, especially as you get closer to conference kickoff, things like that. They handle the hotel bookings, the exhibitors. They're the logistics planning team who is helping to execute the physicality of the conference. So just a sort of a buzzword to know, River West. That is the planning company. Their staff will be all over the place, and so you can look to them for help too once you're there. Thanks to everyone for identifying yourselves in the chat. Love to see that. So let us know where you are and who you are. We have different sections of this webinar kind of planned out, so we'll try to cover all your questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. At the end of each sort of section, we'll address questions that are relevant to what we were just talking about. And then we'll also have a more general Q&A session at the very end. So just know if you put your question in the chat, and maybe it's not relevant immediately to what we're talking about, it may be that we'll address it a little bit further down in the webinar. But know that I'm keeping track of that, and there will be larger Q&A time at the end. So do go ahead and chime in with questions as needed, and we'll address them as appropriate. But glad you guys are here. So Peggy, I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit of just sort of basics and housekeeping stuff.
Great. Thanks, Karen. So a couple of things that folks sometimes wonder, what do you bring? I think however you take notes is helpful, whether it's a computer or a tablet or pen and paper. Bring business cards or some good way to share your contact information with folks. We'll talk about an app later, but you can also connect with folks within the app, and also think about other things that you want to share. So the other thing. So that's in terms of sort of what to bring, and then what to wear. So dress is typically business casual. Average temperature, I was just looking at weather.com for Kansas City. So the week that we're there, the high is going to be low to mid 50s, and the low is going to be in the mid 30s. Most of it will be indoors, and there are sort of sky bridges that connect the overflow hotel to our hotel and to like Union Station and things like that, but you might have to go outside. So just dress appropriately. Another question we often get is, if you're clergy, do you wear your collar? It varies by person. I tend to not wear it during pre-conference, and then wear it during the conference because, there's not that many Asian American women priests, and I want to remind folks that we exist. And again, there's the hotel. So if you were there last year, the conference was sort of in the midst of a shopping center. And this year, that's not the case, but there is a shopping center attached to the hotel, much smaller. But you can also, if you have left things that you need to pick up the last minute, you can find it there. Other things to consider. Uber, it's a major city, Uber, Lyft, taxi, there's all that's available. There's also places to walk to near the conference hotel. Again, depending on whether we're staying, most of the conference is going to be happening at the Westin Crown Center. And I think there are dinners scheduled for pre-conference and whatnot, and they'll generally be in the surrounding area. There's a good number of places to eat around there. Kansas City has, I think, updated their airport in the last year or two, and it's really great and easy to get to and navigate, and it's about a 30-minute Uber or Lyft ride to downtown or to the hotel. And thank you. And somebody said there's a free trolley that goes from the Crown Center to the River District. So lots of places to explore. And thank you, Adam, for the best barbecue spots in Kansas. So time to check out Kansas barbecue. Other tips that might be helpful, just, know yourself, make time for yourself. Know that, if you're an introvert and might need time to sort of recharge, or if you're an extrovert and you just want to be around exhibitors and people all the time, there's possibility for all of that, the whole range. So yeah, just know what you what you are ready for and what you have bandwidth for, and just do what you need to do. Plan out your day. You know, there'll be pre-conferences and keynotes and all those things, and really exciting. We have a large group of exhibitors. That's always great to wander around and talk to them about what's new, what they have available. So yeah, so just plan out your day, and if you need a nap time, you know, build that in too. Just do what you need and make this right. We make it work for you. It's a marathon. It's 4 days, but you can cram a lot into those 4 days, or you can take it easy and just focus on the things that you want to focus on. So it's always helpful to come in kind of having a sense of that, and ask questions. If you have any questions, like Adam said, the planning committee folks and the board folks will have lanyards, you know, usually with a little ribbon on it. Happy to answer questions or help you figure out where, you know, happy to figure out where to go and who to go to answer questions, whether it's about the conference or, in my case, in the board's case, about sort of EPN overall.
Bowie, when we were prepping for this call the other day, you had some great insight about how you like to approach it, and I was wondering if you'd be able to share that with this group. I think it was really insightful the way that you thought about it.
Oh, sure. The schedule is just cram packed. There's so many good things, and I know for myself I just can't do all of them, and I need to have some downtime. And so I always go through and sort of highlight first level, like what are the things that I 100% want to be at, that are the most important things to me. And then kind of level 2, like what are the things that I really want to go to. And then I even kind of think about like what are things that I might skip, you know, like if I run into somebody and want to have coffee, or if I need to do an hour of email in my offices. So I try to go through the whole schedule. Usually it's on the airplane, like when I'm on my way. But what are my priorities? Because there's so much good content, but also part of it is the running into people and saying, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in years. Let's get coffee. And there's not a lot of free time in the schedule. So I think it's good to sort of go through it big picture and know what you definitely want to do. And I feel like I always end up missing something that somebody said, oh my gosh, that was the best thing at the whole conference. But, you know, I wasn't there, and I always think it's a great conference with the things that I went to.
Thanks, Bowie. That's great. Yeah, just make it yours, right? I mean, know yourself, know how you need to recharge. If you're an introvert, extrovert, just take that lens, and as Bowie was saying, you know, look through the schedule ahead of time and kind of figure out where you definitely want to invest your time. It was mentioned before, there is an event app, so you'll get an email. It may be called Know Before You Go, or download the app, some titling of that kind. So do make sure to read those emails as they come in. There will be a way to download the app. The app is called Cvent, C as in the letter C, VENT. It's like event, except if you replace the first letter E with a C. It includes a variety of things. You do have to go through a couple of steps. You download it onto your phone. You do log in. You do have to be registered to log in. It is tied to your registration so that it can pre-populate your schedule that you have signed up for. But it's got lots of great features. You can see the list of everyone who's registered to attend. So if you're wondering if your friend in another diocese who you would love to see is going, you don't have to reach out to that person. You can actually just look into the app. And if they're registered, their name will show up. You can connect with people through it once you're actually at the conference. So if maybe you don't have business cards, or you don't bring enough, or maybe you forget them, there is a way to share and link up to people through the app to connect with them that way and stay in communication. You can not only see your schedule, but you can see the full conference schedule. So as like Bowie mentioned, you're sitting on the airplane taxiing, maybe take a look and see what's out there. There's a map of the hotel and the different levels of the hotel, and then also included are sort of like indicators of where certain things are. Where's the exhibit hall? Where is certain conference room? Where is the chapel that we're going to have set up? There will be a chapel this year, which is great, so that at any point in time while you're at the conference, if you just want to step away into a quiet reflection space, that'll be available to you. So it's really worth it takes a little bit getting to know, just like any new kind of app or technology. So I do encourage you to download it before you leave for the conference. Spend a little time looking through it, getting comfortable with it, because it will come in handy. It does show which workshops and which pre-conferences and which rooms that they're in. Like any logistics challenge, sometimes rooms change, right? So just because it says it's in the Sage room on level 2 now doesn't necessarily mean that that'll stay consistent up until the conference. So again, being comfortable with using it, figuring out the information that you need, really can help lower any hurdles once you arrive at the conference, and just let you know what the tools are, to explore a little bit and to get connected and to really be able to put your energy into making the most out of the conference. In addition to the app, there may be a way to send us feedback through the app once you're at the conference. As Adam mentioned, the planning committee is a group of volunteers who helps to program the conference every year. So both in the app and then post-conference, will get an email to fill out a survey. We use that feedback to plan the following year's conference. We take it into account, that what people say, and we hear whatever, we listen and we read all of the feedback that we receive, and that actually helps to make broader changes to the conference planning and the programming, and also lets us know what worked and what didn't. So throughout the conference, both in the app, through emails, post-conference, look for ways to provide us with feedback. We do utilize it, and we're very grateful for it.
Yeah, and just for example, this year, this is the first year the conference is ending on a Friday instead of Saturday, and we made that change because of your feedback.
And same thing goes for the chapel. The reason we will have a designated chapel space for the duration of the conference was due to feedback of folks who wanted that option. So Sarah put in the chat, extra classes recently added to the schedule. Do we have to sign up for those? Adam will talk a little bit about the bonus programming later. Those are bonus programs that don't require registration. So he'll get to that. But the short answer is no, those can be drop-in as you need them to be. All right. Actually, that's a great segue, Adam, into reviewing our broader agenda items throughout the conference. So take it away.
Right. So starting there, yeah, we have for the first time a bit of bonus content. Sometimes there are folks who are eager to participate, and sometimes we want to offer content that may not align with the workshop thematic buckets. And so we've experienced this over the last couple of years and thought we would offer it. And it is drop-in. You do not need to register. And if you, hearkening back to the energy levels and such, if you do have the energy, I encourage you to try it out. These are some remarkable folks offering, and all of that information is both on the website and in the app. Sometimes I think of the conference as like a fill-in for things that you don't learn in, seminary or something if you're a priest, or you don't learn with whatever background you bring as a lay staff member, because sometimes like budgeting really isn't taught in preschool and these kinds of things. So I think this is a chance to bone up on that and also make contacts. We'll have contacts for all the people that are offering this bonus content and throughout. So working on a review of key agenda items. Karen mentioned morning prayer. We will have morning prayer every morning. All that information will be available on site and in the app, but for those that like to take part in that will be available Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There is also a chapel space, a designated chapel space that will be apparent by the time you get to Kansas City on the map. And also with signage, in the space itself. And again, any of the folks wearing a vest or any of us will know where that is or can direct you on how to find that. That'll be available anytime during the conference hours for you to take advantage of as you would like. And then there's our sort of at St. Thomas we call Festal Eucharist on Thursday with a wonderful guest preacher, and that is where all elements of the conference attendees and presenters and exhibitors are welcome to come and worship together. a lot of incredible effort from our host churches, to my great delight, a lot of effort on a reception afterwards that will feature that Kansas City barbecue that we know and love. So please plan to attend. There will be buses available. It is walkable. Kansas City, we spent 2 days there in the spring, and it's quite a walkable city. And also there's buses. There is a bit of elevation, but it's a wonderful pedestrian town. So you don't have to take a bus, but it's there for you if you would like. And the schedules and all that information will be available at registration, as well as in that app. The app is really good, y'all. Get the app. Sometimes there's a gap in your schedule, and that's when we encourage you to peruse the exhibitor area. Also, if you want coffee or refreshment, that's where it is. So if you need a little bit to munch on, or to have a beverage of some type, hit that exhibitor floor and check it out. You may not be in the market for things now, but they have wonderful materials, wonderful things to take away. I have 2 daughters, and I bring them home lots of tchotchkes, and I do encourage you to make sure that they're actual giveaways and not things for sale. My first conference, I may or may not have a contraband water bottle in our cupboard, but that's where we can really, take advantage of this kind of horizontal line that the conference offers. Not only, thought content, but also tactile things that your parish may want to use, if not now, someday. The schedule will specify each pre-conference has a dinner associated, and then there's some various dinners hosted for seminaries and other affinity groups. But you can either, if you don't have any of those, you are free to make plans on your own. And as Karen said at the start, it's a chance to grab someone that was in a webinar with you, or I'm sorry, a seminar, and go grab a bite and share your stories. So lots and lots of options nearby. And throughout Kansas City, you can walk. There's definitely a ton of Uber and Lyft availability. So encourage you to, make sure that you're not missing out, but then, make a plan. Certainly several options on site that were delicious. There are some whole receptions, and there are some drink tickets. And they will come with they have come in the past, and probably most likely will come when you register with your lanyard. And those are simply, kind of the first drinks on EPN, beverage of your choice at the opening reception, and various other things that you may be involved in that will be dictated on your schedule. Usually color coded, but you can always ask which one is which, and that will be kind of readily apparent. But please do come to those, the social events. I absolutely am so proud of this planning committee for the work that we've put in on the content, and the content that you make, and the buy is also terrific. So yeah, I think covers all review of key agenda items. And just to underline what Karen said and Peggy said, and I'm sure Bowie will say, we would love your feedback on those surveys, because it really does make a difference. And I will tell you right now, one of the survey that goes out after the fact, there are more people on this call than actually filled out that survey. So we would love to hear from you, and tell your friends. Fill out the survey. All right.
Adding on to the food, there is also free breakfast available every morning. So that's another time when you can, eat and socialize. I'm going to talk about the pre-conferences, and some of you are signed up for pre-conferences, some of you aren't signed up, and I want to say there is still time to sign up. The pre-conferences happen starting Tuesday, and then they go through Wednesday morning. So it is an additional registration, it's an additional fee, but it's very much worthwhile. The pre-conferences are a longer extended time to get to know a group of people and to delve into topics. There are 4 that are specific to people who are in that role: rectors, deans, and priests in charge, senior associates, chief of staff, and vicars, associates and assistant clergy. So those are all for clergy people, depending on their role. And then also the parish administrators is only for parish administrators. And then there are 4 that are role-based, but that are open. If you have an interest or if you want to be part of it: endowments and finance, stewardship, communications, and vestry wardens and lay leaders. So even if you're not a current warden or vestry member, but you are a lay leader or you have been one of those things, that's available. And then there's one that's just open to anybody, that's topic-based, called Then and Now, a spiritual pilgrimage in the land of the Holy One, which focuses on the Middle East. So the pre-conferences have a session on Tuesday from 2 to 5. And then the group goes out to dinner, and the dinners are off-site. They're at nice places, and it really is a chance to get to know the other people who are in your pre-conference. And then we always find that there's a nice gelling that happens between the first day and the dinner, and maybe what happens after dinner, and then coming back on the second day. So on Wednesday, there's 8:30 to 10:30, and those pre-conferences are all designed by the same group. Often they're led by the same people. And so it really is meant to be taken together. If you're a first timer and haven't registered and have the time, I would encourage you to, because it gives you a chance to get to know a group of folks who then you have that little cohort going into the conference. And some of the pre-conferences even have cohorts that continue on. So if you haven't registered, but you would like to, you can still modify. And if you have registered, I really encourage you to go to all of it. Go to the first session, go to the dinner, and go to the second session and ask questions and put yourself out there and get to know people.
And I would offer that one thing to consider, especially in pre-conferences, is if you're looking at content that or some of what's listed is content that you maybe have greater skills around. Sometimes having people be the resource in the room, that is the contribution that others need, right? That if you're looking at a 2-day session, I'll just name like the vestry wardens and lay leaders. I'm helping to moderate that one, and it's a broad spectrum of different sort of presentations about various things that would be appealing to vestries and wardens and lay leaders. You may already have some of that already locked away, totally done. You're firing on all cylinders. You're doing great. So maybe you don't necessarily need that information. Sometimes in those conversations, because they're smaller groups of people, when folks ask questions, knowing another parish of a similar size or a similar resource, how they've achieved a goal, that's the resource you can provide as someone who's already done that work. One of the greatest things about the EPN conference is we understand that wheels don't need to be reinvented, and that everyone is always so excited and happy to share whatever resources they have, so that if a smaller parish or a larger parish has figured out the magic, they're happy to write it down and give it to you so that you can take that back and immediately move your ministry forward. So that's what I offer. If maybe you're thinking, oh, I'll skip that hour because I already know how to do that. We need both people who are asking the questions and people who've already lived the experiences in the room, because that's really where the growth happens on both sides. So go do the whole thing. Plus they're fun. I like people, so come hang out with me. All right.
All right, I'm next.
Yeah.
So I have to talk about, but before I talk about, so I also want to highlight that after the pre-conferences, there's a women clergy gathering and lunch from 11 to 1. So women clergy are all invited to that. So just want to highlight that. And if you know folks in Kansas City who aren't coming to the conference, that's open to all women clergy. Just make sure you sign up. And then so in addition to the sort of wonderful workshop tracks, we have keynotes sprinkled throughout the conference. And in fact, the conference will open with a keynote between Dr. Fadi Diab and Reverend Canon Ranjit Matthews. And so and then the workshop, and then the second keynote will be featuring our new presiding Bishop Sean Rowe in conversation with somebody else. And so most of these are done in the conversation format. I'm going to post, I'm not going to read them all, but just invite you to go and look. So the keynotes will be recorded, but they're usually not made available, because editing and other things, they're not available until many months after the conference. So I encourage you to go in person. Again, right, knowing what you can do and what's most helpful for you. But the keynotes are great, and use this time to sit, it's just in a large room, and sit next to folks that you don't know, and get to know them, or to, you can use this time to talk to exhibitors. But I encourage you to go to the keynote. I'm excited about, they're always sort of, for me, like really energizing, because it's something that I don't think about in my day-to-day, and so it brings me out of my daily context. And so hearing, and when am I going to get to hear the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum talk about what they do, and what that looks like now, and also to talk about, I love numbers, and so there's also a conversation on Friday morning about data, faith, and resource allocation in the modern church. And then the dean from my seminary is giving the last keynote on Friday morning, and just to think about, right, just again, it's a nice conference for me. It's a nice way to sort of dig down into the details of how to do the thing, but also keynotes as sort of big reminders of why we do this thing. So I encourage you to go to the keynotes.
Thanks, Peggy. Bowie, would you like to talk about workshop sessions?
Yes. So the workshops, there are 6 tracks that are listed on the page I just posted and on the website, and you registered for them when you signed up. And each track has 3 workshops. And you can either pick a track and do workshops 1, 2, and 3. The people who plan the workshops do work together to have them be complementary. Sometimes there are through lines, but you are not required to do all 3 workshops in a particular track. You can jump around if you want to, that's totally fine. It is helpful if you attend a workshop that you registered for, and you can change that really up until the last minute, just because it helps the logistics people know what we need in terms of supplies and seating in a room, but there's no one taking attendance. So take a look. Also, if you signed up a while ago, it might be that there's more detail about what the workshop is or who's speaking. So if you signed up, at the early bird special back in December, then you might want to take another fresh look and say, do I want to do these 3 workshops, or are there different ones? The workshops tend to it's a smaller group, of course, than the keynote. There's always some element of interactivity. Sometimes it's Q&A, sometimes it's having people have discussions around a table. Sometimes it's led by 1 or 2 people, sometimes it's a little more of a panel. But we really try to have the workshops be a little more practical and have some takeaways. Last year, 2 members of my church attended a workshop and came back and said, we need to try this at Christchurch. And we did, and it was a great success. And it was, an idea that they got from one of these workshops. But also the workshops have a mix of people who are lay, clergy, and staff in the room from different size parishes. And so if something seems like it's not quite for you, you can, ask, how might this apply to my context? Or, or you can listen and kind of try to get something out of what's being offered. And as I said, there is time to ask questions. I've also had wonderful conversations with people who I sat with at a table in a workshop, and we got to know each other. And then that relationship continued on, or they brought up a point that was something that when I went back through my notebook after the conference, I was like, oh, this thing that the person sitting next to me, that was a really good point that I want to remember. So there's a lot of value in the workshops.
Thanks, Bowie. And I do think you answered Sarah's question. Oh, Alyssa, sorry. Alyssa's question about, can you change your mind about a session in the moment? And Bowie did say, yep, you can. My advice would be, if you are deciding at the last minute to select an alternative workshop, just keep in mind that other people did register for that workshop from the beginning. So given the size of the conference, so as Adam mentioned in the chat, we have about 620 people registered to attend. So there's only 6 workshops going on at any given time. So that's about 120 to 130 people per workshop. So that's what the rooms are set up for. So just know that if in the moment you decide, the new friend I met at the pre-conference over here, they've decided they want to go to this workshop because this is the topic that interests them. And so after thinking about it, that interests me too. I'd rather do that. By all means, please go where your heart calls you. Just know if you are changing your registry or you are making a sort of in the moment change at the last minute, be conscientious that other folks have registered for that. So maybe hang around on the perimeter before taking a seat up front, making sure those folks who did register do have a place to go. It always works itself out, I promise. But just know that since, registration opened in October, and so some people, they set their schedule October 17th. And so just be mindful of the fact that flexibility is great and is encouraged. But there are those who've made their plan and just be mindful of that. So Adam, you want to
Sure
talk
thing.
about
Yeah,
going solo or going with the crowd?
I do. And just to follow up, there's a good question here about exhibitors and sort of your as I understand it, and all of the exhibition sponsorship stuff flows through Joe and the production team. But how your access is kind of pursuant to your particular vein of sponsorship, as I understand it. And certainly, Joe and River West are available to answer those specific questions. What I can also say is like there aren't any bouncers, so just I mean, if there's something there and you need a coffee, like ask forgiveness, not permission. So that being said, yeah, so want to go back a little bit, just to say that it surprised me so much the level of like sort of non-collars that attend the conference, and so and even non-vestry, like just folks who are involved in their church and they want to come and learn, and so that may mean that they come with a group from their home community, or they someone could be on their own, and this is an opportunity. I'm pretty sure that most of us have signage and communication that says all are welcome. Well, this is a chance to put that into action. So if you see someone on their own, invite them into what maybe you're doing, or at least see if they might be interested. And simultaneously, you see the folks that you come with probably a lot. So you can branch out and sort of divide and conquer. We encourage both things. And again, our team is on the ground, ready to include or suggest where you might go for, something to do that is not necessarily programmed, and also give any sort of advice as to what is, but definitely encourage that inclusivity to play out in real time in Kansas City. We wrote down in our notes, you get out of it what you put into it, which sounds a little prescriptive, but it is also true. And being mindful and taking that rest if you need it, and having some people free hours is really good, but then it only happens in the time that it happens. So, come on down and see what's going on.
And I'll just say, in the past, I've come solo a lot. That usually, for certain destinations, I was the only representative from my home parish, and it's about being open to what's available and the opportunity. I'm one of those people who like half introvert, half extrovert. And so some nights, like there'd be one night where I would take myself to a nice solo dinner. That would be my treat to myself. And then my from the business side of like, okay, there's things I need to learn, things I need to do, things I need to network. I would commit myself mentally to I'm gonna just find people to go to dinner with. And I've done it before where I've made a reservation for 6 people at a restaurant that I'm interested in. And about an hour or two before, I'll just start asking people I've met, like, do you want to go to dinner? Do you have dinner plans? I got this reservation if you want to come. So it can be the best of both. And sometimes becoming solo allows you to really be as flexible as possible. But those who are coming in a group, what I also would encourage you to do, or coming as part of a group, make time when you get back to your home parish to debrief what you learned. That to me was the most valuable. And when I did finally get to attend with a group of people, realizing how beneficial it was to have that shared experience, and to send people to different workshops. Like if you are going with a group, try to expand what everyone goes and learns or what you attend, so that when you do a debrief upon your return back to your home parish, you can all contribute other parts of the conversation. So just ways to think about it, that there are plenty of people who come on their own with no one else from their parish, and there are groups where you've got the rector, the senior warden, 3 staff people, 2 clergy. So it's a mix all the way through, but make the best of it. So we've
Yeah,
got,
if I can just jump in
yeah.
and just to follow up, thinking about that, thinking about like dinner reservations. We're 600 people trying to make group reservations, and Kansas City is also a foodie town. So, people make reservations ahead of time. So, in addition to reviewing the conference schedule, and, just think about that. And if I encourage you, there have been times when can't accommodate a group of 9 because we have 4 groups of 8. And so, just thinking about that, don't be afraid to make a reservation ahead of time. And then if you got to cancel it, cancel it. And there's a lot of places within walking distance that are pretty great. I'm not sure I mentioned it or not, but I just want to reiterate, fill out the survey. Fill out the survey. And then definitely places to buy things on site. I will tell you 2 years ago that I forgot toothpaste. And I spent $13.87 on 2 ounces of toothpaste. So I haven't fully recovered yet, but I encourage you to make a list and check it twice, because there is a certain upcharge to things on sale on site.
Yeah. Goodness. So we've got a little less than 15 minutes left. So I encourage folks, if you've got questions, toss them in the chat and we are happy to answer them.
I'm gonna just respond to 2 things I said earlier while we're waiting for questions.
Yeah.
One, the app is gonna have a list of everyone who's there, and I have gone solo. And again, like on the plane or a day or 2 before, I'll go through the list and I'll see who I know, who I'd love to get together with, and I'll reach out to them. A second thing is in terms of clergy, there will be clergy in like full suits and collars and clergy in jeans and hoodies. And it really is kind of your choice. I wear a collar and I dress up if I'm leading something. And then if there's a day that I'm not leading anything, I'll just sort of be a little more business casual. But there really is a range from pretty formal to pretty casual and a lot in the middle. So it's sort of your comfort level.
Thanks, Bowie. So there's a couple of great questions in the chat. One is there a bus provided by the hotel that comes directly from the airport? No. So the buses that go to the airport from local hotels are ones that are by the hotel, by the airport. The airport is about a 30-minute, I think it's like a 20-mile distance from the Westin Crown Center, which is in the downtown sort of Union Station or Crown Center area. I think I think there's a Union Station there too.
I think you're right.
So there's not direct transportation provided by the hotel to the airport. That's where rideshare, Lyft, Uber, you could do a taxi service. If those are really your options getting to and from the airport. You can always rent a car, but then of course there's costs to park your car at the hotel. So I definitely think rideshare or taxi is going to be your best option. And then once you are at the hotel, I don't know if there's transportation from the hotel to other things locally. I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. And then for an allergy, the best way to communicate that is to go back to your registration email. There should be a contact info for either River West or EPN directly about like questions or your registration. That would be the best place. Go back to that registration email and look in there for who to contact about questions. Allergies we're conscientious of, and mostly everything is buffet style, so it's easy to avoid things that are issues. But still look in that registration email, and it should give you that the registration confirmation email, and it should give you a way to figure that out. Bonus programming, the information and details can be found on the workshops page of the EPN conference website. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, it is listed there. Also, it's in the app if you get the app.
Where the survey is.
Where I'm looking at the I saw another question that I can't let's see. Dress code we answer. Is there a designated meeting area? A designated meeting area during the conference. I would say the hotel lobby is your best bet. The registration table or the check-in table for registration will be located in the main lobby. Then it's somewhat of an atrium style with different levels that overlook the lobby. And so the conference will actually be spread out between the lobby itself, the second level, and the third level that have escalators. So there's also a waterfall on sort of like level 2 mezzanine. So you could just say, meet me at the waterfall. That's also a good one. But no, there won't be like a designated spot.
Bishop Buddha has a prior commitment and will not be able to join us in Kansas City. We of course wish her the best and wish that she could definitely be there, but not this time.
Yeah. And then I texted Joe and heard back about exhibitors, and I put it in the chat. So, but to reiterate, he said exhibitors have access to keynotes and worship, and the opening reception is in the exhibit hall. But we do ask exhibitors to register for the conference to attend free conferences and worship.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. I get more and more excited every single day. I'm just happy to be there. And even though it's 4 days of a conference, I always return, while maybe tired, also refreshed and very encouraged that sometimes the day-to-day and church work it's nice to remind ourselves the greater good that's going on beyond us when you can kind of get too focused on where you are in just your church. And so to just be with so many people who are inspired and happy and creative and thoughtful and spiritually filled it's rejuvenating in a way that I never expected when I first started attending the conference. And it's one of the reasons that it doesn't matter what's going on in my life or in my schedule, the annual conference has been a priority since 2016, that it is just a really great, encouraging, faith-filled time that I think you will all really, really enjoy.
To echo Karen, while we're waiting for any other questions, last year, my daughter, who was 6, said, "Mom, why do you need to go to this conference?" And I said, "What's a church conference?" She said, "Well, the church is right there because we live in the rectory." And I said, "Well, I know that's our church where we go, but it's important for me to know what else is happening across the church, to be connected to people who are part of the Episcopal Church." And I think that this is a moment as much as any when those connections are really important for us to be connected as the Episcopal Church. And also, this is the Episcopal Parish Network because parishes are kind of the building, they're the essential building block of the Episcopal Church. And so there are some bishops who come, but we'd had Episcopal Parish Network one year the same week as House of Bishops, and it was still a successful conference. So there are bishops. There is some talk about what's happening in the Episcopal Church, especially in the exhibition hall and in workshops, but really this is for people to go back home, back to their local parish with more tools and more ideas and more encouragement about being part of a bigger body. Alyssa, you may need help through the back end to change your pre-conference.
Yeah, Lisa, I'll ask Joe or River West to be in touch with you.
There is, Bridget, there's not a Zoom for the pre-conference presenters, but whoever your host person is should have been in touch with you.
That's me. Bridget, I sent an email a couple weeks ago, but I'll circle back on it. So yeah, we'll get connected for sure. Yeah.
Any final questions?
Jennifer, that's a good question. I would say starting like noon on Tuesday through noon on Friday is I don't know if if I would consider that completely unavailable. I know that for myself and Adam and Bowie and Peggy, like we do always make time to respond to emails and stay connected to our home parishes and sort of because trains keep needing to move through the station on time. And so I've never been able to fully disconnect from my home parish and the work that I'm doing there, but people just know that I'm inaccessible at certain periods of time. And so that's where like really looking into that schedule, finding those pockets of time, like there are pockets of time of 2 hours of lunch on your own or time in the exhibit hall, or we try to at least give 30 minutes to an hour in between keynotes and workshops to give people that opportunity to go back to their room and make a phone call or answer 3 emails so that they can sort of tend to the business of day-to-day church in those gaps in time in order to be able to be fully present when they are in a workshop or when they are in a keynote. So there's lots of things that are slated throughout the day, but we are conscious about leaving those hour to 30-minute breaks so that people can handle their day-to-day business. I don't think it's enough time, depending on where your church is located in the Kansas City area, to leave and come back. But do know that like we understand that people have emails to send and phone calls to make and Zoom meetings to have. And so that's we've also built that into the schedule to try to be conscientious of that too.
There are a couple questions about the app. So when you go into the app and you identify the conference, you'll put in your name and your email, and then it'll link to you. And then it sends you a code to verify. And it's just like a 6-digit code that goes to your email or to or you get it as a text message. It's just verifying that you are who you say you are, but you don't need to have the code in advance. You just wait till you receive it.
Yeah. Or if someone else registered for you, and that their email is tied to your registration, that could also be the hang up, that if it's rare, but it depends on who registered and the contact information that was there is an option when someone is registering for you to indicate that they are registering for someone else. It's possible that they did not notice that option and therefore just entered in their own email address. So if you maybe had someone on staff who was registering for a group, or you had an assistant or administrator that was registering for you, double check that if it is sending you that verification code, that it is going to you. It might be going to that person. I did it earlier today, and I both got a text message and an email. So there were 2 different ways in which the code came through. So just if you're not getting it, it could be that if someone else registered for you, somehow their contact information is still tied to your registration. All right, you guys. Well, it is 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern. Yeah. Live in those time zones. So thank you all for being with us today. 2 o'clock Mountain Time, 1 o'clock Pacific. Thank you all for being with us. We really look forward to seeing you in just a couple of weeks. If you see us at the conference, feel free to come up and say hi. Again, if you have negative feedback, talk to Adam. If you have only positive things to say, you can come talk to me. But
Well
otherwise,
played there.
we look forward to our time together and all of the barbecue.
Unless you're
Sauce, if you're not
vegetarian,
into the
but you
meat,
know.
but well, the
There's
sauce, even
lots
got
of
the sauce. The sauce is good. So, all right, everyone. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.